So we're going to do some more compositions today. So as a reminder, when we see all of this, this all means f of g of x. So a function inside of a function. So the first thing we're going to do when we see a composition is write down what it means. So this one here means g on the outside of f of 2. So g with f inside with 2 inside. And just like we did the other day with the graphs, we're going to start with f of 2, the inside. So we're going to first find f of 2. But now we don't have a graph to find f of 2 on, we have an equation for f. So we're going to use the equation for f, and remember we plug in 2 wherever there's an x because this says f of 2. So to find f of 2, we're going to plug in 2 in that spot where there's an x right here. So we'll have 2, this is 2 times 2 minus 5, and we'll solve this, so we'll get 4 minus 5, which is negative 1. Now that's not our final answer, that was just f of 2. So now we need to go back up here. We still have the g on the outside. We haven't used g yet, but we found f of 2 was negative 1. So we're going to plug that in here where f of 2 was. And now we need to find g of negative 1. So now we're going to go use the g equation. And wherever there's an x, we're going to replace a negative 1 because we're finding g of negative 1. So we'll have negative 1 in here for this x minus 3. So this will be negative 4. And that is our final answer. So let's do another example here. So this one, we're going to write down what it means, f of g of 2. We're going to start on the inside, g of 2. We have a g equation right up here. So we're going to use this g equation up here to find g of 2. So wherever there's an x in this equation, we replace that with a 2, because this is a 2 here now, g of 2. So 2 minus 3. 2 minus 3 will be negative 1. That's not our final answer, that's just g of 2. So we're going to come up here, we still have the f on the outside. We're going to plug negative 1 in there for g of 2, because we just found g of 2 was negative 1. And then we have f of negative 1. So now we're going to use the f equation. So we're going to plug it in for the x. So now x is negative 1. So wherever there's an x in here, we'll plug in negative 1. So we'll have 2 times negative 1. Remember when they're sitting next to each other like that, 2x, that means 2 times x. So 2 times negative 1 minus 5. So that will be negative 2 minus 5, which is negative 7. Now, A and B all had numbers here, and your answer was a number. C and D, these have x's here. So our answer is not going to be a number. It's going to have an x in it. So these are a little bit trickier, okay? But we start the same way. We're going to write down what we mean, f of g of x. And we're going to start on the inside with g of x. Now, what is g of x? Can we find a number for g of x? Unfortunately, no. They did not give us a number to plug in for x, so we're just plugging in x into g. So if we go up here and look at our equations again, we're going to look at the g equation here. So we know what g of x is. We can't plug in a number, but we know what g of x is. It's just x minus 3. They told us that, right? Right here. G of x is x minus 3. So we still have to take that and plug it in here where g of x was. So we're going to have f on the outside, and just like we plugged in negative 1 up here into the equation, we're going to plug x minus 3 in here where g of x was. Because g of x is x minus 3. So we're replacing g of x with x minus 3. So now this is where it gets tricky, because now instead of having f of a number, we have x minus 3. But remember, all we do is we go to the f equation, and wherever there's an x, we plug in what's inside these parentheses. Like when we found f of 2 here, we took the 2 and put it in there where the x was. So now we have to put all of x minus 3 in where that x is. So we're going to take x minus 3, we're going to go up here to our f equation, and wherever there's an x, we're going to plug in x minus 3. So we start with 2 times x. So we're going to replace this x with x minus 3. But we need to make sure we multiply 2 times this whole thing. All this x minus 3 gets multiplied. So we're going to put parentheses around it. And then we have a minus 5. And now we're almost done. We just need to simplify. So first we'll distribute this 2. So 2 times x will be 2x. 2 times negative 3 will be negative 6. Bring down the minus 5. And then we can combine like terms. These two can add together. You can't add the 2x. The 2x is its own term. It's not like terms. But negative 6 and negative 5 combine to be negative 11. So here our final answer is 2x minus 11. Now that's our final answer, and it has x's in it, and that's because we started with an x here. So let's do another one like this. So this one here, we're going to have g of f of x. We start by writing down what it means. We start in the inside. F of x, we have that above, that is 2x minus 5. We can't plug anything in for x because there's no number in there for x, so we just have to leave it as 2x minus 5. But we do need to plug that in here. So we're going to have g on the outside. Put your 2x minus 5, because f of x is 2x minus 5. Put that in there where the f of x was. So we just replaced this with 2x minus 5. And now to solve this guy, we need to go to the g equation. This says go to the g equation. So we're going to go to the g equation here. And wherever there's an x, we're going to put all of this inside there. So we're starting with x, so we go ahead and put, so we're going to have blank minus 3. And in this blank where the x is, you're going to put all of this. So we're going to have blank minus 3. So you're going to put 2x minus 5 in that blank where the x was. Then we can simplify. We can just have 2x minus 5 minus 3. We can combine these two like terms. We can't add the x to x. It's its own term. But minus 5 minus 3 will combine to be minus 8. So that's your final answer. All right, let's do a couple more practice problems. These both have numbers here. So we already know our answers should be numbers. These are a little bit easier. So we start with g of 1. So we're finding g of 1. We start on the inside, find g of 1 first. We have a g equation right here, so we're going to plug in 1 for all those x's. 1 squared time is 1 minus 3 plus 8 will be 6. That's not our final answer though. Now we have to go here. This is 6. We just found g of 1 is 6, so we're going to plug that in. So the g on the outside we haven't used yet. And we're going to plug in 6 for the g of 1 on the inside. And then we need to find g of 6. So now we're going to use our g equation and plug in 6 wherever there's an x. So it'll be 6 squared minus 3 times 6 plus 8, which is 26. You can just type that all into your calculator if you need to. And that's your final answer. So now we'll do this b over here. This one is f of g of 7. Start on the inside, find g of 7 first. So that means plug in 7 into your g equation wherever there's an x. So it'll be 7 squared minus 3 times 7 plus 8. And this will be 36. Again, you can just type that into your calculator if you need to. We're not done though. That's not the answer because 36 was just g of 7. So now we need to go plug that in here. F of 36, because g of 7 was 36. And then to find f of 36, you're going to use your f equation. So that's the square root of x. So you're going to plug 36 in where the x was, and you'll get 6. All right, let's do a couple other problems here. These ones all have x's, so all of our answers should have x's in them. So let's do a couple of these to practice. So this will be g of f of x. F of x here, we can't find the exact value, but it's just the square root of x. They tell us what f of x is. So now we're going to go plug that in here. F of x is the square root of x, so we're replacing f of x with the square root of x. And now to find this, we need to take our g equation, and wherever there's an x, we're going to put the square root of x in there. So we'll start copying it down. Well, the first thing we have is x, so we're going to replace that with the square root of x. And then we have a minus 3, but that's outside the radical, right? Because you're just putting the radical x in this part. So then minus 3 is outside the radical. And so that is our answer. For h of g of x, we're going to start by writing what it means. We'll start in the inside. G of x is equal to this guy right here. They tell us what g of x is. It's x minus 3. So now we're going to replace g of x in this part with x minus 3. And now we need to find h of x minus 3. So we're going to go to our h equation, and wherever there's an x, we're going to replace that with x minus 3. So we're going to have x minus 3 where this x is, and then we need to square that. But how do you show me you're going to square all of this? You can't just do that. You got to show me you got to square the whole thing. So you need to put parentheses around it. Now this we're not done with. And remember, a lot of you on the test said that x minus 3 was just x squared minus 3 squared. We can't do that. That's not allowed. That's bad math. What does it mean to square something? It means to multiply by itself. So x minus 3 times x minus 3. And then we got a FOIL, distribute, box method. So we're going to do x times x to get x squared, x times negative 3 to get negative 3x, negative 3 times x to get negative 3x, and negative 3 times 3 to get positive 9. You can combine your middle terms because those are like terms. The x squared can't combine. There's no other like terms. The middle terms will become minus 6x and then plus 9. And this is your final answer. For C here, we're going to do f of g of x. We'll start with the inside, g of x. They tell us what that is. It's x minus 3. And then we come up here, and we're going to plug that in here for g of x. And to find f of x minus 3, we're going to go take our f equation, and wherever there's an x, we're going to put x minus 3 in there. So we'll have the square root, and then all underneath, all this x is underneath that square root. So this x minus 3 needs to go all underneath the square root. And that's your final answer there because you can't simplify that. D here, we're going to be doing g of h of x. We'll start with the inside. H of x is x squared. So we're going to plug that in here. H of x is x squared, so we'll plug that in here. And then we need to find g of x squared. So let's go look at what g is up here. So g is this guy. So wherever there's an x, you're going to put x squared in that spot. Wherever there's an x, you're going to put x squared in that spot. So we need to start with x. So we're going to replace that with an x squared. And then we have minus 3. And there's no simplifying for that one, so you're done. These next kind of questions here. Are actually pretty easy. These are opposite of what we're going to do. So they're giving us an answer, h of x, and they tell us over here that h of x is f of g of x. So this equation here is h. This is f with g inside of it. This right here is f with g inside of it. And we're finding f and g. So we're trying to figure out what is the g equation and what is the f equation. Well, g is inside here. So we need to look at what's inside. Well, the part that's inside is 2x minus 3. So that's really easy. Our inside is 2x minus 3. We know that right away. Then, when you want to find the outside function, the best thing to do is wherever you just wrote 2x minus 3 in your equation, replace that with an x. So we're going to replace 2x minus 3 with an x. And we'll be left with x squared. So that is then your answer for f of x, the outside function. And all we're doing is identifying those. So then if you go and check this, you can do f of g of x. Take f and plug in 2x minus 3, and you'll get 2x minus 3 squared, which is what we started with here. So that is the correct answer. So this is your answer. Same thing for this one. They're telling us that f of g of x is equal to h of x. So the inside is g and the outside is f. So this is h. So if we look at what's inside first, this stuff here, 2x minus 3 is all under the radicals, so that's inside. So that's going to be g. So the inside was 2x minus 3. So if we replace all of that with an x, then that tells us that our outside function is the square root of x. And we're done. We'll do a couple more practice problems here if you want some extra practice. So for f of g of x here, our answer is going to have an x in it because there's an x here. We're going to start on the inside. G of x, they tell us, is x plus 4. We can't get a number answer because this is just x plus 4. We can't plug anything into that. So then we're going to come up here and have f, and we're going to put x plus 4 in here. In for the g of x, because g of x is x plus 4. And now to find f of x plus 4, we're going to go to the f equation, and wherever there's an x, we're going to put x plus 4. So we're going to start with the 3. Then it's times x. So this is going to be times x plus 4. But you got to tell me to multiply the 3 by all of x plus 4. So you need to put parentheses there. Minus 2. Then we can simplify here. So we'll distribute the 3 first. 3x plus 12. Still bring down your minus 2. And then we can combine these like terms. The 3x cannot combine. So this will be 3x plus 10. This one here, again, we have an x, so our answer will have x's in it. So we'll have g of f of x. Start with your inside, f of x. They tell us over here that f of x is 3x minus 2. So we'll go plug that in here. G on the outside, put f of x in here. So then we need to go to the g equation here, and wherever there's an x, we're going to replace that with 3x minus 2. So we start with the x, so we'll write down 3x minus 2 in here where the x is, and then we still have a minus 4. So the only simplifying here is just to combine like terms. So 3x minus 6. These also just have x's in them. So we'll start with writing down what it means. Start on the inside, find g of x. They tell us up here what g of x is. It's x plus 4. Plug that in here for g of x. To find h of x plus 4, you're going to go to your h equation. Wherever there's an x, you're going to replace that with x plus 4. So we'll start with the x. So we'll start with x plus 4. But we need to square that, right? So we need to square that, which means we need to square all of the x plus 4. So how do we square all the x plus 4? Well, we put parentheses around it. And then don't forget your plus 1. Now, how do we square x plus 4? Remember, that's going to be x plus 4 times x plus 4. Don't forget your plus 1 on the end. Bring it down. We're going to FOIL, distribute, box method, whatever you want. X times x will give us x squared. X times 4 will give us 4x. 4 times x will give us 4x. And 4 times 4 will give us 16. And don't forget your plus 1 on the end, bring that down. So we can do some combining. We have 4 x's that we can combine. Those are x's. The x squared cannot combine. There's no other x squared, but then the numbers can combine. So when we combine these, we'll end up with x squared plus 8x plus 17. All right, last one like this. We'll do d over here. So g of h of x. Start on your inside, find h of x first. They tell us right here that's x squared plus 1. We're going to plug that in here for h of x. To find g of x squared plus 1, you're going to go to your g equation. Wherever there's an x, you're going to replace that with x squared plus 1. So we're going to have x first, so we'll replace that with x squared plus 1, and then we just have a plus 4. So the only simplifying you can do here is adding those two together. So x squared plus 5. And let's do a couple more with numbers here. So g of f of 2. Start with your inside, f of 2. Plug that into your equation. So you'll have 3 times 2 minus 2. And so that'll be 4. That's not your final answer, so plug that in here for f of 2. Then find g of 4, plug that into your g equation, and you get 8. So now we'll come over here to b, and we'll do f of g of 2. Start on the inside. Plug 2 into your g equation. You get 6. Come up here and put that in here for g of 2. Plug 6 into your f equation. And you'll get 16. All right, and lastly here, we'll find g of 2. So we'll start on the inside. G of 2, plug 2 into your g equation. Come up here, plug that in here. Plug 6 into your g equation. And you get 10.